Hi, this is Mother Mantis and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I have put together a list of games that Mom thinks that you should play. So, as most of you know by now, I play a lot of different games and I'm not super combat driven. As anybody who's watched me live stream knows, I'm not combat driven particularly, but I do enjoy combat in games. But for me, the primary focus of most games that I play is the lore and the story and the relationships that one watches develop within the games. And I do spend quite a lot of time researching games and looking for new games and doing lore deep dives on games that I like. I always like to kind of follow the narrative string and kind of see how the story lays out as a story in its own right. That makes the game more immersive and more interesting to me. So all of the games I'm going to tell you about in this video are either coming out shortly, just released, and in the case of at least one of them, it's a game that I think came out a little under the radar when it released in 2019, but it now has a sequel coming out, so I really want to get it onto your radar if you haven't played it yet. And let's take a look at some games that Mom thinks you need to play. Oh, and as always, if you enjoy this video, it would be immensely helpful to me if you would like and subscribe down below. It does help me grow, and I really appreciate the support. Thanks a lot. Cheers. The first game I've got for you is Breakwaters. Breakwaters is a game that's being developed in the Seattle area, and this was a game that was put out by a smallish studio up here as a Kickstarter, so that's where I first saw it, and it just looks like an interesting game. It's due to come out in the fall of 2021, and here's what the developers have to say about the game Breakwaters. The ocean depths are full of mythical titans, monsters, and treasure. Only a breakwater can push back the waters to approach them. Breakwaters is a unique exploration survival game that features both single player and cooperative gameplay. As I said, it's due to come out in fall of this year. Here's what that game looks like. The next one up is a game called Atomic Heart. Atomic Heart has no release date at this time, but it just looks like such an interesting game that I wanted to show it to you. It's an open world action RPG, and it's got events unfolding in an alternate universe during the high noon of the Soviet Union. So it basically takes place in the 50s in the Soviet Union. You play as an agent called P3. You're a KGB agent, and you're investigating a catastrophic event at facility number 3826. It's a very interesting looking game along the lines of Prey, which you probably know that I really liked, and also BioShock. Here's what that one looks like.
Ой, вот это я понимаю, хоромы. Храф, какой у нас там план-то?
Вам приказано зачистить территорию выставочного комплекса. обратите внимание на экспонат с внутренностями кита. Тут представлены не только органы дыхания с пищеварением.
The next one up is a game called Isonzo, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's Italian. The battles of Isonzo are real battles that happened in World War I. The battles were a series of 12 battles between the Austro-Hungarian and Italian armies in World War I, mostly on the territory of present-day Slovenia, and the remainder in Italy along the Isonzo River on the eastern sector of the Italian front between June 1915 and November 1917. Now, here's an interesting real fact about this battle. There were 250,000 casualties and 1.5 million if you count all that were killed, captured, or reported missing. So I do hope that they treat this game with the respect that an actual historical event that only happened a little over 100 years ago deserves. But it looks like a really interesting game, a little bit different than the normal kind of combat game that you'd play. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. And here's what that one looks like. Next up is the Elden Ring. This one is very highly anticipated. This is the game on which George R.R. Martin, the author of the Game of Thrones, was a consultant. And what it says about the Elden Ring is it's an upcoming action role-playing game. Rise, tarnished, and be guided by grace to brandish the power of the Elden Ring and become an Elden Lord in the lands between. Follow the path to the lands between the foggy sea to stand before the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord. So this is slated to release in January 2022. The graphics are incredible, and with George R.R. Martin having been consultant on the writing, it's probably got a lot of really deep and interesting lore. So I wanted to show you that game as well. So here's what that looks like.
The tarnished will soon return, guided by grace once lost. The Golden Order is broken to its core.
Search of the Elden Ring. Emboldened by the flame of ambition. Someone must extinguish thy flame.
They will fight, and they will die in an unending curse.
This next one is a very interesting game. I hope I'm going to pronounce the name right. I think it's pronounced Militsonier. It's Militsonier, Militsonier. It's a first-person, surreal, immersive runaway simulator. I know that sounds kind of crazy. The giant policeman keeps order in town. You haven't broken the law, have you? Of course, someone must have been telling lies. But this morning you were arrested. This game has a very Russian vibe. It's a very odd game. I think it will take some getting used to, but I've watched the trailer probably 5 times, and I just think it looks really interesting. So I wanted to bring this one to your attention. It's not released yet, but it is upcoming shortly.
Стоять! Куда это вы собрались? Вам же запрещено покидать город.
Why?
Ты сам знаешь.
What's going on?
А вам куда? Так, стоп. Это же ты? Убирайся, мразь, я тебе сейчас ничего продавать не буду. Я сейчас вызову милицию. Алло, это милиция? Алло, милиция, вас не слышно, алло.
Да не расстраивайся ты так.
Hey, I have a question.
У меня нет на это времени. Шлите заявление. Даже не думай перелезать через этот забор. Я все вижу.
Fuck off.
Ну ладно.
Что там? Что ты здесь забыл? Что тебе нужно?
I need a ladder.
Что ты орешь? Это не я ору. Замолчи ты. Положи. Верни на место. Куда ты пошел? Сейчас милицию вызову.
Ах ты чё?
Stop. Please.
Next up is the game Control. Control actually came out a couple years ago, but kind of like the game Prey, I think it was critically acclaimed, but it didn't sell as well as it possibly could. I think it kind of fell under the radar for a lot of people, but it's really a fantastic game. Narratively very well done, and it's psychologically kind of a thriller, very, very interesting game. And the game Control ended with some definite loose threads that left room for a sequel. And apparently there is a sequel coming, which is why I'm bringing Control to your attention, because it's a game that's worth playing if you haven't looked at it yet. And with news of a sequel coming out, it's definitely a game you're going to want to play so that you're ready for the sequel. Here's what Control looks like.
I was just a kid when they took him. They thought I'd never find this place, that I'd forget about him. They were wrong. They'll try to stop me, but I'm stronger than them. We're stronger.
Another one I want to bring to your attention is a game called A Plague Tale: Innocence. This game actually has a sequel coming out pretty soon, which is why I'm bringing the first game to your attention, because I think you should play it. It's a very good game. It came out in 2019. It's a very immersive, well-written, and well voice-acted game. It's set in the 14th century, so it takes place in the mid-1300s. In Aquitaine, it's mostly French, and it revolves around the Black Death. Plague ravages the kingdom of France. Amicia and her younger brother Hugo are pursued through villages devastated by disease. On their way, they'll have to join forces with other children. Aided only by the link that binds their fates together, they face untold horrors in their struggle to survive. As their adventure begins, the time of innocence ends. It takes place in a historically accurate setting. Not that I'm claiming that any of these games are actually historically accurate, but it is always nice when they pay respect to an actual historical setting and they are respectful to that. But this game, A Plague Tale: Innocence, has a sequel coming out. It's a game that really should be on your radar if it's not yet.
I want her to come back.
I'll carry you. Mommy is dead, Hugo. You'll never see her again. Go away! Hugo, no! Leave me alone.
Don't take too long.
I hate you.
It's for your own good, Hugo.
I'm sorry, I'm sick.
They've come back.
Everything is all right now.
Why does she keep resisting like that? Only our methods differ. We have the same goal. We both fight the plague.
Must protect him, Amicia.
So there's a few different games that are either out or upcoming that I think are interesting, and I hope you will too. Let me know what you think of my taste in games down below in the comments. Now, you always know you should do what your mom tells you, and mom says, go play. Cheers.